Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about switching jobs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, "Hi Frederick, really appreciate all the videos. I've recently accepted a new role, my second role in my career after 5 years. Whilst going into interviews, I felt confident and realized it would be a challenge, and actually quite surprised after passing the round of interviews. But now I have my notice period at my current job. I've been feeling really anxious and worried about the future ahead. Does this get better with more experience of changing roles? I'm dead scared at this. I'm dead scared as this will be the first company I've joined as a junior, and I don't want to be a burden coming in." Well, uh, yes, it's gonna get better. That much I can promise you. Because the anxiety you're feeling is the fear of the unknown, right? And as I wouldn't say famously said, but I've said this before. I can't remember which video it is now, but guys, being scared is best solved by making. It's usually down to something being unknown. If something is unknown to you, that's usually where fear lies, and then logic dictates if you know, then it's not scary anymore. It's sort of like the description I gave you was, at one point it was scary for most of us to go to the bathroom on our own, to sit on the toilet or something like that, not using diapers, for example. And how did we fix that problem? Well, hopefully you're not running around in diapers today if you're a full-grown adult, but and if you are, like, to each his own or her own. But for most of us, it was through practice, through exposure, that we learned how to not be scared anymore. Because when you turn the unknown into the known, it just becomes something you do. It's not something you really think about all that much. And although there's always an element to something that is a little bit unknown, it feels different to people. I mean, you're probably going to be able to work fear of going to the bathroom alone down to the barest minimum of levels, right? But some stuff is always inherently a little bit more scary because there are more unknowns, and the impact of something going wrong is potentially higher to you. The negative fallout, if that makes sense. And this is actually one of the philosophical ideas that I have, or like, it's not mine by any means. I'm pretty sure that there's 100 other like philosophical schools around this, but that life is basically you trying to prepare to be ready to die, because it would be for humans, it's the ultimate unknown. And the changing of your profession, or like changing your from one company to another, it may not be as big of a deal as a dying, but it is the same sort of thing. Now here you're lucky, because here you can actually practice. It's a little bit more difficult with dying, practicing that, but the format is still the same. You're going from this known state, as at your current job, where you know what's going on, you know all the things, or you think you do. It's a mental trick we always play on ourselves. It's the same reason why we stick with the same political candidates over and over. You think you know what's going on because you look at the world as this box. When you figured out in your world that things that affect you on a daily basis, you get a sensation of security, when the reality is that that's actually a false worldview, but it is nonetheless the way that we humans formulate our reality around us. And now you're going to go to an unknown state, or you think it's unknown, because there's a lot of there's a lot of factors. I mean, that's going to be scary. But as with everything, it's just a pattern that repeats in to a large portion, right? And so if you do it over and over, sooner or later you're going to know what's going to be practically the same every single time, and what's going to probably be a little bit different. And you're going to start relaxing. I promise you that much. I've done the same thing, guys. And I mean, no, it never goes fully away. It depends on your personality as well. Some people are always going to be a little bit scared. I'm always scared when I go to a new interview, even though I know for a fact that I've been working for years now. I might not be the world's best programmer. I'm probably never gonna be, but I do know that I can do the job, and I know I can do it really well, usually. And because I have a track record of these sorts of things. And I still think it's scary to submit the code test to a company for a role that I know that I can do, for example, or sit and like talk and explain myself to interviewers and so forth. When I do that, I also think that's a little bit like scary, because I have performance anxieties. And then starting a new job, as you were saying, of course it's going to be a little bit scary, because you don't want to be a burden, you want to do well, etc., etc. And all I can tell you is that it gets easier to deal with it. Like a good way of thinking about it is a little bit like how performers will say that you're like going on stage or doing the performance is always a little bit scary, because just before you go out there, you're a little bit, oh, are they going to like me? Are they not going to like me? And as soon as you start going through into the material, if you're a stand-up comedian or something like that, and you see that you start getting some response, you see that people are laughing, then it's just another performance, and you start relaxing, because now the unknown it goes away. Up until that point, you have all these gremlins in your head, right? But when you see that, oh, this is just like that other gig, or yeah, it's working again, or so forth and so forth, you start relaxing, and the same thing is going to happen to you, I promise you. And the best way of doing it, as I said, is just expose yourself to the situation. I'm not saying that you should job hop or anything like that. I'm just saying continue working, do your best, get really good at your job, and I promise you that the years and experience is going to start showing in your mood, just as with your skills. So what I want you to take away from this is that yes, it is always a little bit scary when you're going to switch roles. Well, it depends on your personality, but for a lot of people it is scary. It's always going to be a little bit scary, and it's completely natural. It's going to get better, I promise you that much, because as I've said, the more you expose yourself to something that is unknown and it becomes just a pattern that you can recognize, the less scary it's going to seem. And when you get to a certain level of skill or age or something like that, it's hardly going to face you anymore. It's always a little bit nervous to do like a transition or a change or something like that, where the impact can be significant, because changing jobs, like changing changing housing or countries or spouses or whatever, like all these are bigger changes, but even though they are a little bit scary, they can be very scary or they can be a little bit scary. And in the beginning, for you right now, it might be very scary, but I promise you, after a few years of working and seeing that, yeah, it's sort of the same everywhere, some things are different and some things are the same, it's going to be a lot less scary for you. I promise you. Have a great day.